To our review of Saw, released in 2004. That rhymed. Before I go on, I'd just like to explain the situation with the shows I'm doing with my friend, sorry. And this is my review for Saw, released in 2004. That rhymed. Okay, so before I start, I'd like to just clarify what the situation is with the videos of the AJ and Cooper's movie musings. Basically, we haven't met up to do it in to do the shows in a couple of weeks because we've been seeing movies instead to accumulate reviews to do for the show. So you'll see reviews of Kick-Ass and I Love You, Philip Morris and stuff like that, and maybe one for this week. I'm not sure. We hope to film it possibly Friday, but I'm not entirely sure yet. But it will be within the next 2 weeks, I'm sure. So yeah, in case you were wondering about that, and also in terms of doing my reviews, for the time being, I think I am going to continue doing them like this, actually, through the camera, not through the computer with audio and visual, like I used to do the voiceovers, just because it actually is a little easier to do it like this, to be fair. It's probably less interesting, so I do apologise, but it's a little easier, just for the time being. Okay, so I thought I'd review Saw. I've got a review for Saw 4 and Saw, don't think I did Saw 5 and Saw 6 on my page. And they were, I don't know, I'm out of breath, sorry. I don't know if they were okay. They weren't too bad. Especially Saw 6. But it's the first 3 that are the really interesting ones. And the really good ones. I'm not the biggest fan of horror in general. Especially bloody horror. I prefer the psychological haunted house horror, to be honest, if I was to choose. But I do like the Saw series. It's kind of the one that slipped through. Okay, so the first Saw movie is very good. One thing though I will say against it, possibly, I'll just do this before we start, is that actually on rewatches the acting is pretty poor. The only really good one is Tobin Bauer as Jigsaw. Apart from that, you're not really... Oh, and Danny Glover, but that's about it. The two main ones in the bathroom are pretty shocking. But in general, it's the sparsity and the mystery of Saw that makes it interesting. As I say, it's not until the later films that they start to rely too much on the traps, and this one is more subtle. It's more implied. All the violence is pretty much implied in general, or it's more still pictures, and then they kind of do quick flashbacks, but nothing that lingers too long. Which is good, and it's more about the characters and the situation, which makes it a much more stronger film than the latter half. As I say, it's not my favourite. Saw 2 is my favourite, but for different reasons. What else is it to say about Saw? Oh, the twist. Okay, I'm going to do a little spoiler here, so please mute it. I'll wait about 5 seconds to give you a chance to mute it, and then when you see me do the thumbs up in front of the camera, that means I've finished talking about the spoiler, and you can unmute it and carry on. Okay, so I'll give you 5 seconds to mute it. Okay, so basically, I'm not too keen on the twist. I didn't think the twist was as good as the second one, especially. I thought the twist in the second one was much better. The whole thing about it being the cancer patient John lying on a dead body on the floor isn't a dead body and it's alive wasn't interesting to me for a couple of reasons. One, I guess it's kind of interesting that the person lying there isn't dead, but the fact that it was John, this cancer patient, was never really interesting to me because we never saw him that much. We saw him once or twice, but really, because we never really got to know him, the fact it was him wasn't interesting to me. Beyond the fact that, you know, a dead body rose up, you know, and he wasn't dead. That's interesting, but that's more of a visual thing rather than a shock and an actual character development. So I wasn't that keen on the twist as many people are. So just for people that didn't want to know. Okay, welcome back. People didn't want to know the spoilers, and we're back here. Okay, so basically, Saw is a really good horror movie. As I say, the acting is a bit off. but the visuals is very interesting. It sets the tone for the visuals that was very well maintained in the other films. So yeah, please check it out if you're a fan of horror. As I say, I'm not the biggest fan of horror, but this was a highlight, so I very much recommend it. One of the best movies of 2004.